I'm watching the ball spin round the wheel, and my heart's about to burst out of my chest because everything is built up to that moment. Is it going to win like I've told everyone it will, or is something bad going to happen?
My name is Mickey Mace. I am one of the biggest gamblers in Las Vegas history. By age 29, I was one of Las Vegas's biggest winners of all time, and I was up tens of millions of dollars. I was winning so much that the whole city was out to get me. I was born in Jersey. I come from like a really long line of high-stakes gamblers. Family time kind of consisted of going to the New York City card room and just sort of hanging out. My grandparents would go to Atlantic City every week. They would take me and sometimes my younger brother, and we'd always get thrown out from the casinos for being underage. And my grandparents got really tired of cutting their trip short. So they went and bought fake identities for my brother and I so we can pass in the casinos. I moved to Los Angeles, and when I moved to Los Angeles, Vegas is only a 45-minute flight away, so I couldn't help it. I would go to Vegas once a week and just party. While I was partying, I'd gamble some, and I started winning, and winning a lot. I was about to party so hard that I was gonna bring Vegas to its knees. I was exclusively a blackjack player, and I liked to play the largest stakes I could, but they would never let me bet enough. And one of my buddies played blackjack and baccarat, and I was unfamiliar with baccarat, and he said to me, he goes, just so you know, you can always bet twice the bet sizing in baccarat that you're permitted to in blackjack. It's standard policy in all casinos in the world. That's all he needed to tell me, is that I can bet more. Baccarat is a card game. Before the cards come out, you make a bet. The main bet is either player or banker. After the cards are dealt, there'll be 2 for player, 2 for banker. And when you add them together, closest to 9 wins. It also is the best odds in any casino. The odds are 50-50. The odds are so good that on half of your bets, you owe a 5% commission back to the house. The only way to win big is to bet big. And when I gamble, I want to play as big as I can, as fast as I can, as hard as I can. I want to bet the biggest limits they'll let me. The number one advice I have for anybody who wants to gamble successfully is they need to have somebody sit with them that's not gambling. And this person needs to know you really well so they can keep an eye on you. When you're losing, they need to help you walk away from the table, and they have to hold you accountable so you don't lose while you're in the wrong state of mind. And the same goes for when you're winning. A lot of times what happens is somebody will go into a casino and win, and they don't know how to walk away, and they end up losing everything. In the beginning, I was probably Las Vegas's favorite player. If I asked for the mayor to come shake my hand, he probably would have left his anniversary dinner to come meet me. I have met every CEO, CFO, president, every business owner. I've met everybody, and they wanted to keep me around because they were hoping I was gonna give them all my money. They gave me a private jet, they gave me a Maybach, and they gave me a Rolls Royce. They gave me chauffeurs, they gave me pilots. They gave me a dancing monkey that served champagne for one of my parties. It was luxury and elite, and it was like the highest end amenities in the world. And I was young, and I was partying like a rock star, and the girls were everywhere, the money was flowing. There's secret villas in all of the casinos in Las Vegas, and I lived in those villas for free. I was racking up a $100,000 bill every day, and they were picking up the tab. I used to use private jets like Ubers. I threw a party one time, and what I wanted to wear, I was like, oh, I really want this one hat. And I knew, I was like, oh, I left the hat home in LA. So I took the jet to LA to grab the hat, got back in the jet, and went back to my party. I don't think most people will ever even know that that way of life exists, and Vegas offered it to me on a silver platter. Baccarat is a game of luck. I have formulated an algorithm that helps to not just decrease the variance in it, but more specifically decrease the house edge and increase the player's edge. I have found a way to beat Baccarat. Casinos don't like that. They don't understand exactly what my algorithm is, and they're having a lot of trouble stopping it, which is how I've won the tens of millions.
What is this algorithm you're using?
Let me think. I don't think I can answer that question because part of that answer I'm selling for $50 million.
Okay, well, I definitely don't want to impoverish you for $50 million.
Me against the casinos is absolutely a war. As a matter of fact, everybody's in this war, whether they realize it or not. Las Vegas wasn't built on winners, and they've became the top professionals in the world at making sure you lose. There are countries around the world that hired Las Vegas casino security to run their national security. So that's how far advanced the security systems and companies that run these Las Vegas casinos are. And they had tried everything to stop me from winning. A lot of the casinos had felt early on that I was a liability. The casino set me up where I can lose not just my money, but I can lose my life. Casinos would do anything to throw me off my game. They took away the jet, they took away the cars, they took away the butlers. They would not give me rooms anymore. They would manipulate my room service. They would block my cell signal. They've done things as arbitrary and silly as that, all the way to set me up to get robbed for money. I was in Vegas with my buddy Ian. I had a goal that day, and my goal was to win as much as I can, as fast as I can. The problem is the casinos are so smart, way smarter than I'll ever be. Casinos build edges against all their players, and they never speak about it publicly. They don't market it, they don't discuss it, and they'll shut down any conversation about it. So I knew to get in and out as fast as I could, so in the shortest amount of time, how can I bet the most amount of money? We bought in for $500,000 that morning. And as soon as we hit $1 million, as fast as possible, we cashed out, we took the cash, we took the money and went to the next casino. And I took the $1 million to $2 million. There it is, baby! I took that $2 million up to about $3 million. And then I took that $3 million in cash as fast as I could and went over to the next casino. And I remember screaming at the cashier, count it faster, get more staff, get more staff. By the time they counted the $3 million it was at the time, I had already won another $1.5 million, and I had $4.5 million. And I just took it back to the cage and I said, cash me out again. Between 4 casinos, it took us 3 hours. We started with $500K and we left with $4.5 million in cash. All casinos, whether the public knows it or not, they have secret cages that are highly secure. They're private rooms for large transactions. These rooms are also protected by security. $4.5 million weighs a lot. It weighed too much for me just to carry, and they didn't have any bags. So what we ended up doing was, I had security take the $4.5 million, put it on the bell cart, and push it through the casino to the main valet where Ian had ran, grabbed his beamer, and pulled it to the doors. Security is loading the $4.5 million in cash. It's not hidden, it's not in bags, it's just cash in clear cellophane, like vac seal wrap, but it's $500,000 in $100 bills. So they load the $4.5 million in the back seat. Me and Ian get in, and I look in the rear view, and I see headlights of an SUV turn on. Where this SUV was sitting was not actually an entrance or an exit. It was tucked away in this little cove at the main valet, and no valet driver would let a civilian park their own vehicle there. I was being set up. When I first saw those headlights turn on, I immediately went to worst case scenario. They knew exactly how much cash was in that car. They knew who was in that car. There was really no getting away from what was about to happen. They were coming for my money and possibly my life. As soon as we got in, I looked in the rear view, I saw the lights turn on, and I immediately thought it was suspicious. Somebody was sitting in that truck waiting. I was in full-blown panic. We go to pull out, and we pull onto Las Vegas Boulevard, and so does the truck. And I said, Ian, make a U-turn. Right now, we're gonna figure out, are we being chased? I was at like 80% that this wasn't gonna end well.
Make a U-turn.
Go to make a U-turn. Now we're driving up the strip on the other side, and the truck also made a U-turn. I said, we're being followed. Ian smashes the pedal, and we take off. The truck took off also. Now we're in a high-speed pursuit up Las Vegas Boulevard. The jig is up, there's no hiding, there's no slyness of this SUV. They're doing anything they can to keep up with us. And I'm thinking I don't think we're gonna get away. I don't think we have an option here. I was in full-blown panic. I mean, my heart, outside of my own control, was beating through my chest. And I just kept thinking to myself, I have to keep my wits about me or there will be no possibility of solution. My heart was going crazy. We might get killed, we're gonna get robbed. You know, people do a lot of crazy things for a lot less than $4.5 million in unmarked cash.
This is not happening, Go. Where am I supposed to go?
We were driving, and Ian said that he remembered a hotel that does trunk checks.
There's a trunk checkpoint.
A trunk check is when you pull up and security wants to check inside of the trunk to make sure you don't have any weapons or any other dangerous materials. It was genius. So we pulled into that casino's entrance and the security came up and said, please pop your trunk. And I said,
Please don't be suspicious. Look in the back seat.
and he looks and he sees $4.5 million in cash. And I was like, I don't know the right tone to talk right now. I don't know the right words to say. I don't know the right level of urgency to express. I kept my body really calm, but I used my words with urgency. And I said, you see the SUV back there? He goes, yeah.
So,
I said, we're being followed. They're trying to rob us. I said, okay, I got you guys.
I'm gonna hold him up, all right?
He said, you're gonna stick right, you're gonna get into the employee parking lot. You're gonna make the following turns. When you get to the exit, make a right and just get out of town. It hit me and I was like, is this a good plan? And I didn't have enough time to think it out. Now I'm worried about Ian, who's actually in the driver's seat. Ian is behind the wheel of my destiny. And I was really scared that he was gonna start panicking, make the wrong decisions, and it was gonna be full-blown chaos. And I said to myself, I can't even think about if this will work. It is our only option. So the second that me and Ian pulled out through the security check, he guns it and he's booking it like we're not even discreet. Now I'm like looking around, I'm like making sure the truck's not following us. And me and Ian are like, what did he say? He said, go right, go left. And we're like screaming at each other, left, 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 right, 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 go straight, go straight. We're like, here it is. Dude, there's the exit. And we get out of there, and as soon as we hit call vault, that's when we started celebrating. Yeah! And we just left and never stopped till we hit LA. We just have $4.5 million sitting in the back seat, and it's just us two morons just driving around, you know. And for us, we were still like sweating, our hearts are racing, we like can't believe what just took place. Unreal. I have never ran for my life in the passenger seat of a car with $4.5 million, you know, like being set up by the casino staff. I've never had that before. And to get away from that was like the biggest FU to the casinos I could have had. Yeah, it was cool. That was sweet.
My name is Brian Zembick, and I've taken the craziest bets of all time, from living in a box to putting boobs in. I moved to Las Vegas when I was 22, and that's when my gambling career started. It was just blackjack and backgammon and craps or whatever games they had there. And you meet a lot of sick puppies when you're in Vegas. They just want excitement in their life. You know, they'll bet on anything. I will bet you the fly will land on that sugar cube over that sugar cube. And they would bet on that. So I started taking advantage of these guys. I started taking crazy bets so I could make a lot more. I was always attracted to these crazy bets because I was always competitive and I like doing wacko things like jump up and do magic tricks. It was normal for me to do the outrageous. And I just took advantage. I can take people by shock and awe, and they would bet these things because they could never believe, they could never do it, so how could anybody else do it? But I would be the guy that could do it because I don't give a rat's ass. Probably the first bet I had was, there was a box out in New York City, okay, and there was a homeless guy there. And my friends were saying, you know, that's got to be pretty tough living in a box in New York, you know, being homeless at. And then right away, I'm starting to think, well, my friends are gambling, they're bored. Why would they mention it? So I'm thinking, maybe I can make some money here.
I'll live in that box for a week.
How much you do it for? $5,000. I go, no problem. So I bought the box off the guy for, I don't know, maybe $100 or whatever. And I moved into the box. So every day I'd pop up out of the box and start doing magic tricks. And I would get, people would give me money for food. And it was pretty brutal living in that box. But you know, at the 5,000 is a lot of money back then, right? And I really need the money, you know. So that's how that sick bet started. And then you get a reputation. Oh, maybe Brian will do something stupid, right? One of my friends bet me $30,000 I couldn't live in a bathroom for an entire month. It's not easy. It's at Joe's house, and Joe would pay people to go in and take dumps all the time, to just try to get me out of there. It's hard to eat food because when Joe took his friends in there to take, I could smell it, and I had to puke. I mean, I didn't want to have to puke up every last thing I had. I think I was surviving off a canned tuna. I would sleep in the bathtub. I flew a girlfriend in from New York to meet me. She would just be at the front of the bathroom door, and I could have a little chi-chi, okay? But I couldn't put my foot past the door hinge. But I'm glad I did it because we have something to laugh about, and I won the bet. Everyone should spend a month in the bathroom. I want to find the one bet that would end all these bets, and I found it when I was in Monte Carlo. I was in Monaco with my friends, Mike, Swobo, and Martha. That's his girlfriend. And we were having a conversation about Martha going off about how every guy likes her boobs and how these boobs get me a lot of dinner dates. Right away, I'm thinking, they're bored, right? This is where you take advantage. You know, if they happen to make a lot of money, they don't mind putting a lot of money on something stupid. So I had to come up with some original thinking.
If I had boobs like you, I'd go on just as many dates.
And Swobo, I know, is very impulsive.
Really?
Yeah.
How much?
You have to think fast because it could be gone in 5 seconds. I decided to put the boobs in all within a matter of seconds. And I'm thinking, how much can I get him for? If I say too much, he'll say no.
100,000.
100,000.
Yeah.
Deal.
So I made sure I shook my hands right away because once you shake your hand, that's a deal. So now I have to find out, where am I gonna find a plastic surgeon to put boobs in me? I thought that might be against the law. So I went to Felix Schiffman. Felix is a plastic surgeon, and he plays backgammon at the Coterie, New York. Felix, will you put boobs in me? He goes, is it for a bet? And I go, yeah, of course it's for a bet. He goes, do you want saline or do you want silicone? I said, when do you want to do the operation? He goes, just don't eat for the night, I'll see you tomorrow, right? My breasts have to be as big as Martha's. He goes, okay, bring Martha in, we'll just have a comparison and we'll do it. I go there with Martha and I'm on the operating table and I say, Martha, get Mike on the phone. And Felix is about to put the general anesthesia in me, and I say to Mike, Mike, I'm on the operating table with Martha right now. Do you want to make a settlement? And Mike doesn't believe I'm on the table, right? He goes, no, you're not even there. I said, no, Mike, Martha, just say hi to Mike. And Mark goes, yeah, Mike, he's really on the table. All right, inject me, Felix, now, make it quick, okay? Mike, I'll take $60,000. He goes, no. Mike, I'll take $40,000 because in 4 seconds you won't, no. I woke up and I've got boobs on me. But the boobs look pretty darn good. So I go over to see Mike. And he pissed his pants. He said, that's the best $100,000 I've ever spent. Within 2 weeks, Martha was taking me to clubs and I'm still getting laid. It would be like a novelty. It's like, I'm not a good-looking guy, so I would have to do card tricks to amuse the girls. And if that didn't work, I'd show my boobs. So that would work. So I was actually getting chi-chi within the next 2 weeks after having the plastic surgery. So now I have to keep them in for a year, though, to get the money. If they break, it's on me, right? So I'm kind of like, for a whole year, I'm thinking, I gotta protect these puppies, okay? But I realize that these babies, they don't puncture. They're good to go, but nobody plays with them. Nobody plays with them. I like, keep away for the first year. But then my life totally changed. Last of the year with the boobs, the 100,000 is mine. I got my money, I could live my life again. There was a book written about me, The Man with a $100,000 Breast. It's amazing. But at the end of the year, after I got the boob bet finished, I even had more bets from friends to keep the boobs in. You go, $10,000 a year to keep the boobs in, or you gotta pay it back. I took the bet. So that's the reason why I kept the boobs in even longer, because I'd have to pay this money back that he lent me, right? So now I'm like, you know, I got boobs. My God, am I ever gonna have a girl that's gonna wanna have kids with me? So I met a girl, and everybody else knew I had boobs, but this one girl that I liked. And I thought, well, everybody else knows. I mean, she must know, right? So now I just decide, well, what's the best way to tell her? So I had, the book was already written about me. So I threw the book out there on the bed.
And that's me.
And I go, oh, blew it. It took her 3 minutes and it just totally forgot about it. The next thing you know, we have a daughter, Mika. So now I'm just like too lazy to take them out. No, everyone accepts me for who I am. I don't want to take them out, okay? So I'll just leave them in for a while. So now I'm raising my daughter, Mika. So I bought a house in Las Vegas. I even changed my daughter's name for a bet. So what happened was this. So Swobo, whenever Swobo got lucky in backgammon, they call him Swobo, they would say, oh, I got Swobotaged. So then he said, you name your kid Swobini legally, and I'll give you $10,000.
My name is Swobini Zembic, daughter of Brian Zembic, man with
I changed her name to Swobini legally, right? And changed it back for $10,000.
Change your name back, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it's in paper or not. We'll see. My father is one of the craziest gamblers of all time. If it's for a bet, yeah, he'll do it. Like, I think he's eaten a light bulb before. I think it's for the adrenaline. It's for the stories. I mean, he has so many stories in his life, and it's a never-ending book.
The biggest bet I've ever won is having Mika. Every day I have her with me, I feel lucky. Having my daughter, I thought, well, maybe I should take the boobs out because of my daughter. And she goes, no, Dad, no, you're cool. My friends all love it. Keep the boobs in. Okay, she was okay with that. So I said, you're sure, right? They're not gonna bother you? She goes, no, I'm okay with it.
There was one time when some guys, when I was a young kid, like some guys tried to bully me about it. They're like, oh, your dad has boobs. But I was like, he's cooler than you. I feel like everyone else in the world, in comparison to him, is so boring.
23 years on from the bet, I still have my boobs.
I think he loves his breasts. I don't think he ever wants to get rid of them. I know that he was bet a few times, take them out and we'll give you some more money, but he refused to. Did he show you his boobs?
When am I gonna have to show my boobs?
I mean, would you?
Well, what, are you gonna interview me and not see the What's wrong with you?
He loves to show him off. He's such a hoe.
I don't go around showing too many guys my boobs here, okay? But they've been in me for 23 years now, so they've been sagging just a little bit here, okay? But they still look pretty perky. Boom, 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 boom. Not too shabby for an old guy, right?
My name is Ashley Revel, and I sold everything I owned and put it on one spin of the roulette wheel in Las Vegas. The story really began for me when I was 32 years old. A lot of my friends had started to get hitched. I was young, free and single. I was sort of feeling a bit lost, a bit of a loose end, really. For me, I've always looked upon gambling as a very easy way of making money. And then I was with a friend of mine. We used to go to casinos together. We'd win at poker and we'd play blackjack and start to lose. It was a bit of a spiral, really, and it wasn't good. Because we both love gambling, we just had this crazy thought that wouldn't it be amazing just to stop frittering away our money.
Sell everything and bet it all.
And he was like, that's brilliant. I said, well, let's do it. He was like, yeah, let's do it, over a beer. But things changed. He pulled out, but I decided to do the bet. I just wanted to feel the buzz of what it felt like to gamble everything. I wanted to do one massive, huge bet and never bet again. So with this bet, I would either double everything that I owned or I would end up with absolutely nothing. And I was ready to risk it all. So once you've decided to bet everything, you've then got to decide what game to do it on. I picked roulette because it gives you the closest odds to 50-50. The bet had to be pure, and it was going to be a simple decision of either red or black. One would be riches, fame and glory, and the other would be a disaster. I've always wanted to go to Las Vegas, seeing pictures of it, seeing videos of it. Where else in the world, other than Vegas, is the place to do the bet? Being Vegas, I thought that'd be pretty easy and they'd all be crying out for it. But then it all went a bit wrong. It was surprisingly difficult. A lot of casinos didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to see someone risk everything and potentially lose, because that would have been terrible publicity. But eventually we did find one. It was the Hard Rock Casino. And I thought, that's cool, that's quite a funky place. It was game on. One of my friends was working for a production company, and he goes, Ash, that's a brilliant idea for a TV programme. Sky TV got involved, so it started to escalate, where they said, right, we want to commission the production company to make a 3-part programme. Programme 1, I sell everything. Programme 2, live from Las Vegas. Programme 3, what happened next? I thought, I can't really back out now. Not that I would have, because I was genuinely going to do the bet anyway, but suddenly it's become a TV programme. That was the real turning point for me, realising that was it. A few weeks before I was doing this bet, I met this beautiful woman, Tamara, in this pub in London. I really liked Tamara. Straight away, instantly, I thought, I really fancy her. She's hot. And she said, well, so what do you do? I said, I'm going to Vegas in a few weeks to...
Bet everything I own on one spin of a roulette wheel.
She must have thought, that she's heard some corny chat-up lines in her time, and that was the worst one she's ever heard.
I didn't believe it. I was like, well, porcupines, as we say in England. A very sort of nonsense story. I thought he was rather odd. I wasn't really sort of interested, but then they actually asked me if I wanted to be part of the auction of selling all his belongings. Then it became really real for me. I was like, okay, actually he is selling, his clothes, his jewelry, his car, everything that he had.
Obviously, you've got the big items like the car, the BMW, that sold for $3,000. I had a Rolex watch that sold for $2,000, and whoever bought that at an auction got an absolute steal, because that was a beautiful watch. I also sold my name. It was with a company called Blue Square. They gave me £10,000 to change my name to Ashley Blue Square Revel. There was a news story in the UK, so they got a bit of publicity from it. I'm sure they got more than their £10,000 worth. Even though I sold my name, I didn't technically change it, ever. But they gave me money, and at this point, all that I'm interested in is maximising what the bet can be. Because obviously, the more money I can bet, the more money I can potentially win. I sold absolutely everything. I owned nothing. I had one outfit of clothes that I was wearing. I hired a tuxedo, which was going to be for doing the bet. And then I had my life savings as well. That was about $30,000. So the total amount that I managed to raise was $136,000. It was absolutely everything I owned. I was in a frenzy that I just wanted to do this bet. It was all-consuming. It's all I'd been thinking about for months and months. I'd told everyone the next step really was to fly out to Vegas to do it.
I wasn't part of the entourage. I stayed back, but I was nervous. Deep down, I was nervous for him.
When the plane was coming into land and you see all the casinos all lit up, it was almost like I'd died and gone to heaven. Up until that point, things had gone perfectly as far as planning's concerned. When it came to actually filming the bets, the day before, and cameras had been set up, suddenly the Hard Rock Cafe said, we're not doing it anymore, we're pulling out.
What?
They didn't trust the bet. Why is he doing it? Is it a scam? At the time, in the news, there was a group, they were European, and they were going around scamming roulette tables. So they were using some electronic device. I think they had it in their shoes. When the ball went past a certain point, they would click their left toe. And when the ball went past a certain number, they'd click their right toe. And eventually it would give an indication of a segment it would land in. It wouldn't be specific to a number, but they'd then bet on that. Perhaps think that they thought that I was doing that, but I had no reason to cheat, and certainly I didn't have the knowledge to do it, and I didn't want to cheat. So when the Hard Rock Casino pulled out, I was absolutely devastated. I was thinking, it was a silly drunken idea I had with my friend, and it escalated, blew out of all proportion.
Okay, right, sure.
Is this the start of things going wrong? Because I was just desperate to put the bet on. This was the culmination of months and months of thinking about it, and it wasn't going to happen. It was really all steam ahead to find any casino that would accept it. And the production company started to phone around, and then the Plaza, which is downtown, they said, oh, we'll do it. It was such a huge relief when the Plaza came through. It was like, my goodness, this is incredible. So I went to meet up with them, It was a guy wearing a big Stetson, and he had a big emerald ring on his finger, and he goes, hey, I didn't get where I am today without gambling, actually. So that's a terrible American accent. I said, right, brilliant. We'll do it tomorrow. So that was it. So it was back on. Because it was being filmed, there was obviously TV cameras that were filming. At that point, I went to the casino cage and withdrew the money in chips.
This is it. This is my life. Doesn't look a lot when it's in chips, does it? That's the secret, I think.
I had everything I owned in my hands, and they were casino chips. The only decision I had to make was to pick red or black.
I was thinking black, but to be honest, I'm going to decide when I'm at the table.
So as I was walking along, I was hoping for some divine inspiration, and I wasn't getting that. So I got to the table, and there was a lot of cheering and stuff because my friends and family had been flown out by the production company. My mum and dad were there. It was a huge, huge decision. I looked round and was like, well, you know, red or black, what am I going to do? I didn't know. One would be the right answer. I just had to pick that. I had nothing else to think about. It was the biggest decision of my life. It was going to be red.
I actually went to see my parents in Holland. I knew that I wanted to watch it live somewhere. We went into Amsterdam and we just basically went to every single pub that might have Sky. And there was a lot of pubs that say, no, 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 we don't show that. And then there was one that said, oh yes, no, I can get Sky. And so he set it up at a big screen for us. So we actually watched it live.
And the croupier's giving me a little rundown. I had to say red or black within 2 spins of the roulette wheel. So when they throw the white ball round, it does a few circuits. But I had to make my decision within 2 of those circuits, so it would be a no bet. He goes, you ready? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And for some reason, I asked to kiss the ball.
The people in the pub had no idea that I was dating Ashley. He kisses the ball, you know, we're all like holding our breath.
The croupier spanned the ball, and I immediately just said red and pushed all my chips on red. Once I'd pushed the chips in the middle, everything went silent. So there was loads of cheering and noise beforehand, but it was like being in a vacuum of silence. At that moment in time, I realized that I had nothing. It's almost like when you're a baby. You come out with nothing, you're naked, and I was, apart from a hired tuxedo I was wearing. The reality of it was, if it goes on black, I'd be without anything in Las Vegas, pretty much destitute. I could lose everything. I'm watching the ball spin round the wheel, and my heart's about to burst out of my chest because everything is built up to that moment. Is it going to win like I've told everyone it will, or is something bad going to happen? It landed on red. Suddenly, there's just a huge roar, and I was suddenly out of my daze. It was a euphoric moment. It all erupted. Big shout and roar, and everyone was clapping. I turned around and shook hands with my dad, which was pretty formal. And my mum was just sort of in tears, just with happiness, and they were over the moon. I was jumping around, someone had champagne, and it was just this most euphoric moment.
And then, obviously, it was just like complete excitement from all of us, and we were shouting. And, you know, when my friend says, oh, well, she's dating him, they were like, what? That's crazy. I was like, yeah, I know.
It was just crazy. I remember the guys gave me an ovation, a standing ovation. That was brilliant. That meant so much to me. In that moment, I had doubled my money and turned it into $272,000. Thank goodness I didn't lose. You know, just thank God. Don't do that again. That was a silly thing to do. I didn't really consider going again. It's a question that's been asked to me a few times since, saying, well, you should have done it again. I shouldn't have done it again. I shouldn't have done it in the first place. When I look back at the TV program, I just see just this real arrogant twit. Actually, I sort of hope that he loses when I watch it. But that was me, and I think you've got to have that sort of arrogancy to even consider doing it. It changed me a lot. You know, I'm not the same person. I wasn't the same person 5 minutes after doing the bet than I was before. And it was such an adrenaline rush. It was just crazy. And I would never, ever do anything that insane ever again.
I'm Jay Westerdahl, and I solved a legal dispute with poker. I am a technology entrepreneur from Seattle. I was a very competitive kid. Didn't matter what I was doing. It could be a board game or riding a bicycle. I just wanted to win. And I didn't like it when someone was ever cheating me or they were in a situation where they had an advantage over me. My one subject was math. I would just do well. I'm mid-20s, I'm in Seattle. I started this amazing tech company that allowed cybersecurity to know exactly who was behind each and every domain name in the world. Business is going well. It's building up, and I get together with other CEOs and co-founders. We have like a monthly poker game, and it just became this thing that I kind of got obsessed with. You know, maybe we would win maybe $30, maybe $45 at the end of the night. We're not talking a lot of money here. I had been building and building this company for years and years and years. It was one-of-a-kind business. There was nothing else like it. And one day, someone comes to me with a life-changing proposition. They want to buy my tech company. And I said, okay, well, I don't really want to give up my company, so it'd have to be kind of a compelling number. And they said, hey, we are willing to buy this thing for $20 million.
You got a deal. $20 million.
Okay, I'll do it. I was like ecstatic beyond belief. Like, 20 million, you don't get bigger than that. Little did I know that this was gonna turn into a huge nightmare in a year. Wow, like 20 million, like they didn't have that all in one shot. So they broke it up into payments. So within 2 years, I'd get the money. And then we kind of got to the end of that 1 year period, and they came to me and they said, Jay, we don't have that second payment. So both sides hired law firms, and we went back and forth on this issue for months. They didn't want to unwind the deal. They just didn't have the money either. I could be caught in court for years. It was terrifying. This went on day after week, after month. And then one day they show up and they say, we got the money. And you're like, what? You got the money now? They had resold my company, or part of it, to other investors. After they came to me and they said, listen, it's all right, everything's good. I was like, no, it's not okay. I've got this huge legal bill. You made me spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Could you please repay me for that? They look at me and they're like, no. As a person who has always honored that whole spirit of fair play, I was looking for some kind of way of like getting right, get all my money out of the legal process. And I think I deserved it. And so we decided to go to mediation. The mediator that was helping us resolve this said there's multiple ways to resolve it. Like each side just pays their own cost and they walk away. They liked poker, and I'd actually never played with them directly. And he's like, well, like you could just flip a coin. I was like, I don't like that either. I knew that these guys, they liked poker. I should float poker as an option. $500,000, $0 or $500,000. The winner wins all. I told the mediator, and he had seen it all. He had never seen a poker game. And he was like, wow, this would be one for the record books. And the mediator went to the other room, told the other side. The mediator came back. He walked into the room and he's like,
they like it.
Wow, this is awesome. We put together $500,000 in this escrow. The mediator said, you guys go to Vegas and play the game, and based on what happens, the money will leave escrow and go to the winner. So we set a date for about 2 or 3 weeks in the future. He was so excited, he wanted to come to Vegas himself and watch it. Everything would depend on this single poker game. So we had agreed at high noon in Vegas. I had brought about 20 people with me to Vegas. They had brought about 20 people. It was CEO, me, against their CEO. And there was anxiety about accepting a poker match from a player that you just don't know their style and you've never played with them. I'm sitting down first, and their CEO walks in after pretty much everybody else. And he comes through the door, he's wearing a green shirt that says Karma, and it's in those big, bold letters. And it's basically a big F you, like, I'm gonna trounce on top of you, and this is it. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's really cocky. We had sat down at the table, we're all situated, and my guys come over to me, my friends, they're like, hey, Jay, you know the guy's got a poker coach over there? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. Like, in our escrow agreement, we expressly said no poker pros are allowed to play. It's against the rules. Like, you can't have a poker coach. I was livid at the point. I couldn't fathom that this guy was trying to get away with having a poker coach on his side. Yeah, the poker coach couldn't play, but he was there. And that was just, it really felt like he was cheating. But what can we do? He was trying to get any advantage that he could on me, and we were already going to war with each other. What was going through the back of my head was like, I sure hope I don't lose. There was just this huge stack of chips in the middle, 250,000 for me and 250,000 for them. We started to play the game. A heads-up poker game is where you've got 2 players, and one side's small blind, the other side's big blind, and then they flip. So the big blind and the small blind are ways in the game that you ensure that there's money in the pot. So the first person puts in the small blind, and the big blind is always double that amount. On my game, the small blind was $500, and the big blind was $1,000. If I wanted to raise, the minimum would be $2,000. First hand comes, I'm big blind. I immediately raise the pot. He folds, I take it. He's big blind, I raise the pot, I take it. I'm sitting there just kind of clawing at him, and every once in a while, he'll defend his position, I fold, I back off. If I had a pair of anything, obviously I was super aggressive. If I had anything above a 10, I'd want to see what would happen. The CEO was folding hand over hand. I didn't show my hand once. We're battling not with cards, but with personality. You just have to bet more than the other guy. If I could push him and he could fold, I could keep doing that because I'm keeping a really nice ratio where I'm just like taking his chips. At no time are we showing our cards. If I was showing my hands, it probably would have given him the confidence to start calling me and actually getting into tussles. 90% of the hands that you're gonna get are garbage. And so 90% of the hands that the other person are gonna get are also garbage. The main strategy that I look at is who can win the most number of hands. If you're just a little bit more aggressive in heads up, you win more. And if you can just find the edge when you can be like 55 or 60% of the winning and eventually you start chipping away at them, then you're gonna beat them. So I started playing a game of ratios instead of a game of cards. The way that the CEO was playing the game, there was just a little bit more hesitation in what he was thinking. He's looking back at his poker coach. I'm actually starting to accumulate quite a few chips. couple thousand here, tens of thousands there. And I had about $75,000 more than he did. I was just gonna keep winning, and he had to make a big stand in order to make that comeback. I look down at my cards. I've got the 4 and 5 of clubs. Like suited connector, pretty good hand. You know, I've got the flush draw, I've got the straight draw. I love this hand. So before the flop, I put in a $5,000 bet. He calls me on the $5,000 bet, and now we've got an actual serious hand. This is it. This is where the fireworks start. Then comes the flop. I get the 6, 7, and jack of clubs. I'm like, eureka, like, I've got a flush. Like, I've got a really good flush. I've got a flush that also might have a straight, but it's not a straight yet. I made it 25,000 to go. He called me apprehensively. So it told me he had some kind of hand. Now we have $60,000 sitting in the middle of the pot. This is basically the difference between him catching up to me or him like taking another huge step backwards. He's gonna be quite committed at this point, so am I. On the turn card, 3 of clubs. I'm like, woohoo! I just made a straight flush. The best hand that you can have in poker, it cannot be beaten with any other hand. This is 1 in 72,000. Like, of all the times in your life to get a straight flush, at the high roller room, playing for $500,000, this is the time. I'm like, okay, wow, I've got to really play this good here. I cannot be excited in this situation. I gotta like just calm down and pretend this is just a normal hand and I'm doing just fine. I just need to trick him into putting all his chips in the middle so that I am the winner. No more hands. One more card to come. It was the Queen of Spades. Okay, I need to sit back in my chair and pretend that this is horrible. Like, have bad posture, just, you know, not overdo it, but just really kind of think about it, pondering it, stewing it. I've already got all the cards are on the board. My straight flush. I announce all in. I sit there and just try to have that poker face. And he says, I call. I literally take my hand, I flop it face up on the table. I stand up, I'm like, I win! He had the king high flush, the second best hand in the game. I had a straight flush, the best of the best hand in the game. Cherry on top, the winner gets the presidential suite. So my group was like, all right, we're going back up to the suite. We're gonna go party. So we walked out of the poker room very happy, went straight up and just started opening champagne. I settled a legal dispute playing poker. And it was a brilliant and amazing day.